Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Yeager Anderson with Yeager Anderson Photography, and today we are going to be doing a full boudoir edit. I like to do these sometimes, sort of show you my editing process. Sometimes I hop on camera and sort of go back and forth with my explanation, but sometimes it's just nice to hop in here and just sort of do a edit from start to finish. So I did this boudoir shoot, and I am going to go through the process of how I start. So I went through and I imported all of my photos into Capture One. Now, for the sake of convenience, I have gone through and decided which photo I want to do, and I've picked this one for this particular review, for this particular edit. And yeah, let's go through and talk about what we're doing here. So I'm going to go over to my layers section with a little brush here. I'm gonna look at my exposure. I want to make sure the highlights are not clipped. That's one of the reasons why I went with this. There are certain areas that are a little dark, maybe even some areas that are completely black, like down here. I'm okay with that, but I'm going to open up the dynamic range to give us a little more or a little less contrast in our image. So I'm going to bring up our shadows a little bit, and that's going to kind of smush our histogram here to the center. Bring down our highlights a little bit, right? And that looks good there. Our darkest points are all the way down there. I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to bring that much detail back, but I did want to bring back some detail predominantly in the skin. So that looks good right about there. That's step one. And you might be wondering, why did I do that? Why did I take an image that was very contrasty and now I've removed all of the contrast? Well, the reason why I do that is I knew that the starting image, and I'll reset it here, is what I was looking for. This is the end goal, is something that looks like this. However, when I incorporate this photo into Photoshop, I can add that contrast back in because I've given myself enough dynamic range. And I've knew that I wanted to select this image particularly because I didn't have the highlights blown out, and the highlights are really important for the skin and on the wall here because that's what makes the image kind of interesting, right? We have these blinds, the sunlight shining through on the blinds, and I didn't want the hair or the skin or the wall to be completely blown out in complete whiteness. And as far as the shadows are concerned, I wanted that high contrast, or I do want that high contrast, but I need to be able to work and edit the image first, and then I'll add that contrast in Photoshop. So that's why we're making these adjustments here. I like to have as much dynamic range as possible before hopping into Photoshop, and then I can add it back in after the fact. Really important to make sure that you have as much to work with in the raw image before you go into Photoshop. So that's why. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my layers panel here. I'm going to click a new layer, and we're just going to call this skin. I'm going to hit B for the brush tool, and I'm going to paint on anywhere that has skin. I'm going to hit M so I can see where I'm masking. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I am going to have the skin all uniform. So in a lot of images, a lot of people have varying skin tones in their skin. Very normal, very human thing to happen. Some parts of the skin will be a little blotchier, some parts will be a little lighter, a little darker, and some parts have a little bit more redness than other parts. Some have a little more green or yellow. And so what I like to do in Capture One here is I create a layer mask, just as you see me doing here, and I do that over the entire skin to make sure that there is some consistency in the color. Opacity, flow, hardness. Let's crank the hardness up a little bit. There we go. That's good. So the things we want to avoid here is the hair, which makes sense. Anything that is not the skin. We don't want to go over tattoos. So there's this orange tattoo on her arm here. We don't want to go over that. What's nice is that most of the image, there are varying colors. So skin tone is mostly made up of yellow and red. So by having something that is black or green, it's unlikely that even if I were to accidentally kind of walk over and get this area on the pillow, it's not really going to affect it because there isn't really any green in skin unless you start getting into gels. And I can even paint over this, strap here on the bottom here because it's black. If I change the yellows and reds, it's not going to affect it at all. I may need to Photoshop out that bracelet now that I see it. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you're doing a shoot and you don't see those little things, and then you have to go back and change them. Not a big deal. I also may take out this tattoo here. Depends on how I'm feeling. I don't necessarily know if I want it to be in here because it is drawing your attention when you see it there. And I don't know if I want it to be the focal point of this particular image. I don't have a problem with tattoos. I have tattoos. I just don't always include them. Sometimes I take them out. Sometimes I leave them in. It just depends on how I'm feeling. And the reason is that it's about where the focus is in the photo. It's the same thing with like hair or pimples or any kind of, color changes in the skin like I'm doing now. Anything that potentially could be a distraction, I want to consider removing because I want the attention to be predominantly on the face, right? I want people to be focused here and not necessarily on the leg or on the tattoo on the leg, right? And apologies in advance if my laptop sounds like it's about to take off. It's what happens whenever I do a screencast like this. It's just using up a lot of energy and it's thinking really hard. So this is really kind of the the unflattering part of the process, right? This is a little bit time consuming. It's not super fun, trying to get all the skin right. But in the end, it is very helpful because it'll just make everything else a lot better. I want to make sure I don't hit the lips, so keep my brush small. Dun, 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 dun. It's okay if I go in this little trough of hair right here over because I'm probably going to end up taking that out because that's kind of a distraction, right? All those flyaways are kind of pouring over onto the face, and I want the face to be kind of clear and easily seen. Some people prefer to use Lightroom for their photo editing. I prefer Capture One. It's what I started with Lightroom, and then I switched to Capture One after talking to a bunch of professionals who I work with or who I know and who mentor me, and it's kind of what people in the fashion industry use, and generally in the and the professional world use. They generally lean towards Capture One for their photo editing. And a big part of the reason is that Capture One does a really fantastic job of processing skin tones in a way that Lightroom does not. And I can't go into the details in this video, but perhaps in another video I'll do some comparison and contrast between Lightroom and Photoshop. But it's what I use, and I like it. Even though I think Lightroom is great, I have nothing against Lightroom. I just think Capture One is better. And I also like the idea of using a program that isn't Adobe. Photoshop is already, and Adobe products already kind of have a sort of monopoly on the industry as far as those tools are concerned. And I like the idea of branching out and using something different. But Capture One is kind of the industry standard for professionals. So I do recommend learning about Capture One and perhaps investing in it for your photo editing, because I think it's worth it. Alright, let's make this a little bigger, make sure we don't miss anything here. This does look very weird, I recognize that. But this is just so I can see everything. Not a huge deal if I go over the eyebrows a little bit. Alright, let's make sure that's good. Come over here. Again, not the most glamorous part of the process, but the work here will make your life a lot easier later on. And I'll explain once I finish this mask what exactly we're doing with this mask. Alright, do I want to keep the orange? I'm not sure. I may remove that tattoo as well. Let's assume that I'm going to remove it. Let's just go ahead and say we're going to take it out. Might as well. Might as well. Again, not a huge deal if we go on the clothing here because it's black. If it were, like a pink or something, I would have to be very careful. But because it's black, I don't really have to stress too much about that. Again, gonna have to Photoshop out that bracelet. Not the end of the world. Skin. Alright, how are we looking? Okay. Looking okay. Let's do some big brush strokes here, speed up the process a little bit. I promise this is the hardest part or the least interesting part, so please feel free to skip ahead if you don't find this interesting. We just got to get this mask done. All right. One of the reasons too I like doing this in real time is that it gives a sense and explains to people what the process of retouching is like. I think a lot of people, when they hire a photographer and they're like, I want my photos to look perfect, or I want them to look fantastic, and I want them to be retouched, they don't understand necessarily the amount of time and effort that goes into even a single photo. And I think this demonstrating my process in this way elucidates the complexity involved in retouching an image. And that's good, right? People know, oh, the photographer is actually doing a lot of work in order to get really good results. All right, that looks pretty darn good. This is for my portfolio, so I am not going to stress too much about getting everything too perfect. All right, boom, boom. All right, we're done. All right, so I'm gonna go back down to my background layer here, and I'm just gonna make sure that my white balance is good. I just want something a little more neutral. Probably not that neutral. Oh, it's a little bit too blue. Just kind of selecting different areas of her skin. It looks too green. That looks pretty good. I'm going to bring this up here a little bit so I can see it. I kind of like that. That looks a little more neutral to me, and I think I could work with that. All right, let's go back to our skin layer, and I'm going to go to my color editor, and I'm going to go down to skin tone and bring this higher up for you. I'm going to go skin tone, and I'm going to select this little eyedropper tool, and then I'm going to select an area of skin that I like, say that looks pretty neutral, like here. I'm going to match the skin using our hue uniformity tool, right? So you can see how anything, so I can match our saturation, I can shift our hue, see there's all the color, a little more green, a little more magenta. I tend to keep the skin more in the magenta area. It just looks a little better. I may increase the saturation a little bit. I don't know if I necessarily need a saturation uniformity. I think it's okay if things are different. Lightness uniformity. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm adding uniformity, which is what this tool is here. And it's saying, here's a color, and I want all the colors around it to match it to a certain degree. So I am saying I want, within this color range that I've selected with my eyedropper, I want all the hues to have a similar color up to this amount. So 100% to varying degrees. I usually crank it up to 100%, but it doesn't have to be that strong. But usually I'll sit around there. This is just the amount of the color in general for this range. So if I need to increase or decrease the saturation, I can do that right here. I'll probably keep it pretty natural for right now. I'll add my saturation in at the end of the process. If I want to lighten things up, I can lighten her skin up a little bit. If I find the shadows are a little bit too contrasty, I think they're fine. I'm not going to mess with that. Again, I don't think I need a uniformity in the saturation. I'm okay with there being sort of different levels of saturation in the skin. Or am I? Maybe not. Maybe this would be better. I definitely don't want the the lightness or the luminosity to be in uniformity. Definitely don't want to affect that. All right, so this is looking pretty good. I think the hue, we might shift this hue a little bit here. This is just tightening up the range a little bit. And that looks pretty good to me. All right, so let's go back to our layers here. Bring this up here so you can see. This is the before and this is the after. So if you look at here, specifically on the face, right? If we go in, you can see before and after. And what we've done is we've gotten rid of all that redness. So there's a little redness here, a little redness on these lines, a little redness over here. And what we've essentially done is we've said, okay, there's redness there, but we're going to make it consistent. So now there's this consistent sort of golden hue within the skin. So we've solved the color problem almost immediately. So if there's different variations in the skin tones of different colors, don't have to worry about it. It's also taking care of our orange here. It's looking really dull, but don't worry, we're gonna Photoshop that out. So that's why I didn't stress about it. Okay, now that we have that done, we are going to go to our processor and we're going to name this Julia. I'm going to call it 2. And, yeah, that's cancel. I want to set the output counter to 2, please. Thank you, because I know this is my second image. Great, and we're going to open this as a TIFF, 16-bit, uncompressed, Adobe RGB, 300 DPI, fixed, 100% open in Photoshop. We are ready to rock. Hit the process button up here, and voila. All right, now we are ready to do some Photoshop. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run some frequency separation. I'm going to run a low frequency separation. It's thinking. All right, that looks pretty good. Hit OK. Hit OK again. We're going to run our high frequency separation, and there is all of our texture. Voila. Now we have a nice little folder for our frequency separation. Beautiful. All right, so you can hit J for our patch tool. I like to use the patch tool. And we're just going to start bopping around and do some skin cleanup here. So some of the moles I'm going to keep, and some of the moles I'm going to get rid of. Just depends. This hair, got to take care of this hair. So I'm going to use my stamp tool, make this easier on me. I'm also going to make it pretty hard. Nice. Perfect. Lovely. Oh, that's just lovely. Now you might be noticing there's some blurring going on at the top of the hair. Don't stress. We're going to take care of that. So the process of frequency separation, if you're not familiar, is separating the texture from the color. And the reason why I do my cleanup in this way is because it allows me for greater control. Now, I have to go back and clean up all of the smudges here on the color layer, but I'm willing to do that for greater control over my image. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting rid of any of these little flyaways. And I know this looks really crappy right now, but the reason why I'm doing this is because I will go back with a paintbrush and I will draw in the flyaways how I see fit. And so rather there being sort of flyaways in every single direction, there will be some consistency and some uniformity with regards to how these flyaways are presented or represented in the image. Let's see. I went a little deep there. How far do I want to go? I'm going to hit my L tool here, my magnetic lasso tool. I'm going to just kind of go in here a little bit. This is just going to guide me a little bit. And that way I can sort of move quick. It's going to create a hard line over there, but again, I don't care about that because I'm going to create my own hair afterwards. So, not a big deal. You could have also used the pen tool. That's also an option. Hair is one of those things that you just have to master. No way around it. If you want to be good at Photoshop, if you want to be a good photographer, you got to know how to handle hair. Dun 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 dun. Alrighty. Looking rough. Now we're getting there. Don't worry. This is the process. This is actually the really fun stuff to me. I used to hate retouching hair until, you do it enough and then you're like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. It's kind of funny how you get to a point where you learn enough techniques or strategies and then you're like, I'm no longer afraid of this thing that was once extremely daunting. So you'll notice that I'm pretty fast and loose with my stamp tool here. And one of the reasons, I'm not affected, I can stamp here and paint here, it's not really doing anything. The reason because is my color is on a separate layer from my texture. So I can paint, this is all the same texture, so it doesn't matter the color, right? It's all the same smoothness. So I don't have to worry about it. And that's why I use frequency separation. It just allows me to not have to think about I have to clone exactly from the same spot. I have to clone here and then sample here and get everything perfect. No, I don't. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff because of frequency separation. Now, because the hair was covering up these lines in the background, I do need to take care of that in some way. So I'm going to do that by deselecting. So now I have this hard line here. I'm going to go in a little bit. I'm going to soften my brush. I'm going to soften this edge a little bit here. Just soften that up. Great, looking good. I'll worry about that side in a minute. I need to take care of this problem here. So I'm going to go to my mixer brush. I'm going to go down to my low layer, which is my color layer. My brush is looking a little bit wonky, so let's go to our brushes and make sure we're using the right brush. Soft round, brush settings. Alright, there we go. No spacing, thank you very much. Perfect. Thank you. Alright, now we're good. So I'm just going to go whoop. Using the mixer brush. Make sure we're sampling the right color. What is this? I think we want that one on too. That's what we want. There we go. I think my brush is a little bit too strong. Oh, my flow is up to 100. Yeah, let's bring that down to like 20. I was like, this is far too aggressive. Alright, that looks good. Oops. And you can click and hold down shift, and it will it'll create a straight line. So I can click here, boop, here, boop. I find that helpful sometimes. Alright, that's looking good. This is looking a little rough here, so click here, shift, here, shift, here, shift, here, shift. Yep, looking good. Bring that line in here, bring this line in here, bring that line in there, tighten that up. Hold this, shift, and the shift click technique is just so that I can have precise lines. But it's okay if things are not super perfect, because it's blurred out back here, right? It's out of focus, so it's not the end of the world if it's a little wonky. Like, you can't tell that there's too much going on. I do want to get this line in a little tighter here. There, perfect, looking good. Looking good. Nice, I like it. That last stroke I did not like. Perfect. Alright, that looks great. So, from there to there. Perfect. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to go in a little tighter here. Make this a little harder. Oops. I don't know if that helps. I don't know if making my brush harder helped. I think softer brush is better. There we go. Okay. That looks good. Alright. It's also part of an image you're not going to really think about, right? But it needs to, we don't want it to be distracting. Alright, so now that we've taken care of this stuff over here, might do a little more painting here. Here we go. Oop, that's not the tool I want. I want my brush tool. Nice, that looks a little better. Now that we've done that, we're going to come over to this side of the hair and take care of some of these things. So let's go to our stamp tool, S, top of the hair. Still could use a little more work. Let's just clean that edge up a little bit more. No big deal. Easy breezy. That looks fine. I don't mind this, these sort of flyaways here. I just want to tighten things up with regards to the random little hairs that are sneaking out, like this one here. And I'm just using the stamp tool for this. I could also probably use the patch tool as well. That might be a little faster. Not bad, not bad. The thing about Photoshop, if you have spent any time in Photoshop, is that there are multiple ways to do the same thing. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. I find that the patch tool, or excuse me, the stamp tool is a bit more precise. I mean, it is more precise. It is a one-for-one replacement. And so for these sort of close-ups, in these sort of intricate parts, it makes it easier to get in where I need to get in. In fact, I'm going to get in a little closer here. Whereas the patch tool incorporates a little more randomness to it, which is great. I particularly like it for when cleaning up the skin, because I don't want there to be little perfect stamp circles on the skin. I want there to be some randomness so you can't tell that I've been there. Alright, just cleaning this up here. Looking good, looking good. For the most part, this is a very easy hair cleanup. Sometimes I'll work with someone's hair and it is so tedious and so time consuming. Alright, let's just get rid of those old pieces of glitter. I don't mind glitter, I just want it to be a little more precise. Alright. Alrighty. Don't need these moles in the hairline. Don't need that. Alright, let's take care of this. Alright. Perfect. Zoom out a bit so you can see this little tuft of hair. Just taking care of that. Oops, don't want to do that. So I'm kind of haphazardly kind of bouncing around different parts, sampling different parts of the skin. It's not necessarily the right way to go about doing this. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong way to go about doing this. Well, there is a right and a wrong way to go about doing this, but the reason why I'm not stressing about it is because is because I can always go back if I don't like it. So I'm trying to get a sense of, is this working? And am I getting the results that I want, or do I need to do something different? The biggest thing I'm noticing here is that the quality of light, see how this is very sharp here, is not the same as down here. And that may be a problem for me, but I'm not going to stress about it right now. Just going in with my stamp tool, coming in close. Sometimes it's the most effective thing for the job. And in this instance, I think it's working well. Okay. I don't mind that it is softened to this area a bit. That's okay. That doesn't bother me. There's still some residual sort of color here that we need to consider. So I'm going to go down to my J tool on my color layer. I'm just going to try to save this so I don't lose anything. That's always a tragedy when you're working for several hours on something and then it just dies. And they're like, no, I didn't mean it. Alright, we're going to go to our mixer brush tool, low flow. I'm just going to do a little painting here. I think we need to bring our flow down to 0 or 1, excuse me. Okay. Alright, that's not terrible. Let's go back to our high layer. Let's actually go to our stamp tool here. Part of the challenge too is that the light is passing through the hair, which is creating these patterns that look really cool. But when the hair is gone, you don't really understand why those patterns are across the face, right? All right, that looks better. So this is a lot of work, but that's okay. We're making it do what it does. Not the end of the world. It's a good challenge. I'm up for the challenge. What's nice about doing this live like this is that you get to see how I sort of solve these problems on the fly. So like this shadow here, this long sort of hair here, is being cast, I think, by this piece of hair here, not by what was underneath it, because it's a thick shadow. But I still don't like it because it's confusing to whomever is looking at this image. So if I don't fix it, it will just be confusing. Oops, that is way too hard. Let's bring that way down, nice and soft. Shift 10. Yeah, that's better. Oops, do not want to change that to luminosity. My bad. Let's bring this flow down. Low flow. So I'm just using the stamp tool on my low layer, the color layer, to make these shadow marks more defined and to get rid of the shadows of the blinds, to increase the quality of the shadows of the blinds and decrease the quality of the hair shadows. I was like, why is this so slow to work? And I'm like, because I have it on a super slow flow. I like the quality of the skin here, which is why I'm sampling from over here, down low. That looks good. Okay. So good progress. We're going to go down to our low layer again to change the color a little bit. Oop, too much flow. Bring that down to 1. Want this to be a gradual buildup. Bring this down hard. Want this to be a hard edge on this line here. That looks good. Maybe my mixer brush would be better suited for this job. Yeah, that looks good. Stamp brush. Okay, we're getting there. This is a lot of work, but we are getting there. Going back to my high layer here, smoothing that out a little bit. All just to get rid of a little tuft of hair. Gonna go B on the low layer here. Let's bring up our flow a little bit. Ooh, too much. Too much again. Too much. Let's make this a little more gradual build. All right, bringing this in. That is looking good. Much better. Much, much better. All right, that's looking good. I like that. All right, now let's just do a quick turn off, turn on. A lot going on here. I think this line here needs to be thinner, closer to the head. I think it's too big. And I'm still on the mixer brush. I was like, why is this not working? Because I am on the wrong layer. Let's crank our flow up. Nice. Again, we're on the color layer here. Boop. Thinning up this line, this shadow here. Much better. Okay, let's go back to our mixer brush. Bring our flow way down here. All right, that's looking pretty spiffy, if I say so myself. This little area here looks a little strange. I will admit that, but I'm not going to stress about it yet because I just need to incorporate more skin texture into this area. So what I've done is I've sort of over cleaned this area, and it looks strange because there's no skin texture over here. But I don't have to, so right now I'm just experimenting with cloning from another area of the face, which is an option. You can always do that. The other option is just to do a noise layer, and I think that's what I'll end up doing, because I don't think there's enough skin with the same quality of light that'll work for this area. So I'm just going to go back a little bit. Let's go back. Yeah, to our mixer brush here. And that should be fine for now. That's fine. All right, so that tuft of hair is taken care of. I'm not going to stress about it for now anymore. I'm not going to stress about this area yet. I do think I might actually, hold on, I think I might need to make the skin a little bit, the color of the skin, even though I know I want to incorporate more noise, I think I need this to be a little bit more uniform. Just going to do some finessing over here. Okay. Alright, let's go here. Oh, that's actually kind of works. If I go like this, I can kind of infuse some other texture. It is pulling in some color too, so. Alright, I keep saying, I'm not going to do this, and then I experiment. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Alright. We've got that. That is doing stuff. We're good. Alright, let's focus on taking care of some other things here. Let's get rid of that. Do I want to get rid of the, I think I'll keep the ghost. I think it's fine. It's fine. Just gonna get rid of these little moles here. Nice. Anything, I've pulled back some, as you can tell, so that I can kind of get a sense of what's working and what's not working. I just kind of want big picture stuff right now. Alright, now we need to take care of this hair up here. So let's go up here. I'm going to go S for my stamp tool on my low layer. Hard brush. Not that hard. Softer. Yeah. Small. We want small. And I'm just close to the skin, and I'm just getting rid of all this little blurriness here. I want it to be pretty clean. It doesn't need to be perfect because I'm going to go in and create some hair as well. So if you're wondering, like, wow, this is a lot of work for a single image. Yes, it is. This is why retouching costs so much and why it takes a lot of time, skill, and effort. And even just kind of like brainstorming how I wanted to get rid of that tuft of hair, I don't know if that's the right process. I don't know if that works, but I'm gonna gamble on, I mean, at this level, it looks fine. And I know that there are steps in my process that will help make things look a lot more polished in the end. So I'm taking a gamble that things are going to work out because I've done this before. But they might not, they may still not work out, and that's okay. In which case, you're learning along with me. But right now, we're just focusing on getting this hairline looking spiff. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between my low and my high layer, making sure that things are looking clean. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Alright. That's good. Alright, let's go back down to the skin. And let's just make sure that we are, in fact, taking care of business and working overtime. Any of these little moles, just kind of knocking them out of the way. Any little hairs that might catch the light, I don't necessarily want to have them there. The sun is a hard light source, so especially coming in at an angle, you're gonna see a lot of detail on the skin when the light hits it. Alrighty, that's good. So now that's good. These little hairs, they're popping up because the angle of the light hitting the face, also known as the angle of incidence. And so that's why those little hairs on your cheek, which under normal circumstances you wouldn't even notice, are looking very prominent. Do I want to get rid of this? Sure, why not? Let's see what we can do here. Let's take our J tool and just go boop. Oh, that looks terrible. Let's go J, S or J. We want the stamp tool. Again, nothing against tattoos. Just trying to minimize distractions. That's all. Gotta bring that flow down. Too strong of a flow. Alright, that looks pretty good. I think that's on my high layer, which is why it looks weird. There we go. That looks good. Not bad, not bad. And voila, the orange is gone. Looks like there's a little residual outline of it here. I'm gonna just bring that down there, bring that down there. Okay, good, that was fast. That was nice and easy. Any of these little flakes of light that might be distracting, don't want those there. Do I want to get rid of this Mr. Ghost? I think I do. I think it'll be work, but I think we're just going to do it. We're just going to go whoop. Let's see if this works. Don't mind me, Mr. Ghost. Voila. That's one. Oh, that's too close to the edge. If you get too close to the edge with the certain tools, like the spot healing brush tool or the patch tool, it tends to do wonky things. So I'm just going to go there. And that is pretty much gone. That was really easy. Go back to our mixing brush tool. Just extend these lines. Wow. Super easy. It's gone. Just like that. Love it. Okay, Back to our top layer, our high layer, if you will. Just going to get rid of some of these little blemishes. Little scar here on the knee. It's always funny when people have scars on their knees. It's like, I think everyone has a scar on their knee from like childhood. Everyone has like, your knees take a beating, man, especially when you're a little kid. It's just funny. Oh, I forgot about this bracelet. Ugh. I don't want to do this bracelet. Blemish here, get rid of that. Great, that looks good. Alright, how are we going to deal with this? Let's go stamp tool. Let's clone here. Alright, let's go J. Alright, that's good. Let's go here. That did a lot, actually. Let's go L for our lasso tool, magnetic lasso. I'm going to go S, sample here. I'm going to crank up my flow here, maybe 100%. Cool. D, nice. Great. That looks good. By good, I mean terrible. Let's just make this a little harder. Little hairs there. Let's just go here. That's looking good. Let's go my J tool here and just kind of go like, oh no, let's not do that. Let's stick with the brush, or the let's stick with the stamp tool. Seems to be a far more precise object for this. Still on our high layer here. Let's go down to our low layer, get rid of this color. Still some texture up here on the top layer, gotta take care of that. No biggie. Color, take care of that. No biggie. I'm gonna go to our brush tool. Stamp tool. Oops, too aggressive. Voila, it's gone. Just like that. There's a little smudge here. Need to take care of that. Probably on my low layer. Oops. Let's zoom in closer so I don't mess this up. Smudge there. Let's just go in there. Sometimes you just gotta use the stamp tool. As much as it is a precise tool, sometimes it's the only tool you can use on certain instances like this. Still looking like a little smudge there. Much better. Okay, great. Wow. All right, well, we did a lot of work in a very short amount of time. I'm pretty impressed with myself. Alright, we don't need to stress too much about all of the skin because we're going to do some fancy stuff, which we might do right now. Do I want to do the hair first, or do I want to do the fancy stuff? Hair or fancy stuff? That is the question. That is the question. Let's get the hair out of the way. So let's create a new layer here within our frequency separation. Let's go to our brush. We're going to make a little hairbrush here. This is a good one. This hard round pressure, nice, no spacing. We just need it to be itty bitty, and then we'll be good. So we just need this to look like a piece of hair, and voila, there's our piece of hair. Don't want to be that close. We want to be close, but not that close. And then we're going to sample some hair, and then we're just going to paint, like so. Maybe a little bigger. Where's my brush? Oh, I'm using the mixer brush. I was like, what is going on? I need a different brush. I need a normal brush. Actually, let me go back to my mixer brush and reset those settings. Otherwise, I'm going to be confused. I'm going to be like, what's going on? All right, that looks normal for my mixer brush. I want to go to my normal brush. Thank you. For my normal brush, this is the brush I want. Except I want nice and, yep, hard is fine. And I want it to be itty bitty, itty bitty. Like a piece of hair. Okay, great. Now I can work. Sample little area. And then I'm gonna go boop boop boop. Sample the hair. Sample the hair. This is essentially it. Pull back a little bit. Boop boop boop. And what I'm doing is I'm creating little flyaways that are close to the skin, or excuse me, close to the hair, and that are a lot more controlled. So I get to decide, I'm like, this is where I want the hair to be. This is how I want it to look. And it's not like, whee! It's not flying all over the place. It's nice and close to the head, which is what I want. There's a little bit of randomness, right? Obviously, because I'm painting with my own hand. And, yeah. Brush up a little bit, brush down, kind of different directions a little bit. The thing is that you want it to kind of clump together, right? You don't want any single hair to go off on its own, because that's why they call it a flyaway. Because then it doesn't look good. But if you have little bits of randomness incorporated, it looks good. Some longer ones, some shorter ones. And you'll notice I keep sampling. I'm sampling close to the hair where I am painting. That's the process. I'm going to do it this way so it's easier on my wrists. Make my brush a little bigger. We are going to town, everyone. We are going to town. Oops, do not like that. Let's undo that. There we go. Undo function is a lifesaver. Alright, I'm going to switch my angle here. Zoom in. And you might be thinking, oh, that looks far too perfect, or far too clear or something or whatnot. But don't stress. What we're going to do as part of this process for our hair is we're going to add a blur, and we are going to also add some noise. So we're going to make this look a little more natural. Oops. There we go. Bring in some of this redness here. So I'm kind of guiding in from the hair and letting that dictate how this hair moves. So like here, there's this, it kind of curves out a little bit and then it curves back. I really enjoy this. This feels like magic to me. Pick kind of a darker color here. Brighter color. Darker color. Ba, ba, ba. You get it. You get it. You get it. There we go, that looks good. Part of this process too is sort of covering up the hard edge, which is what I'm kind of doing right now. You want to make sure that whatever you did to get rid of the old flyaways it's not noticeable now. Alright, that looks pretty good. I think it needs a little bit more oomph up here. Sometimes I stay a little bit too close to the head and I need to come out a little more. This needs to be thicker up here, I can already tell. Right in this area here, especially right here. That looks good. Okay. Do we like it? Yes, we like it. All right, so if I zoom in just about here, turn it off, turn it on, boom. We've just added a little flyaway edge to make things look a little more natural. Now what we can do is we can convert this to a smart object, right? Zoom in here and we'll go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. We'll pick something like 1, maybe 0.5. Let's go 0.5. We're just going to add a little bit of blur to the hair. And then we're going to go filter, noise, add noise. Make sure it's monochromatic. Make sure it is uniform. Pump it up just a bit. 2, 3 seems too much, 2 seems good. Voila. And there we have painted in a new edge of hair. Beautiful. Fantastic. We're going to reset our view. Bum, bum, bum. Alright. So, we've done all that. We've done a lot. A lot has happened for this image. What's going to happen now is we're going to create a stamped visible layer. This is my skin smoothing technique. We're going to go to filter, other, high pass. We're going to put in 21, press enter, invert the image, filter, and we're going to go to blur, Gaussian blur. We're going to do 7, press enter. Changes from normal blend mode to linear light. And now things are looking snazzy. Going to add a mask. And then we're going to paint with a normal brush. And we should go to our brush settings here and make sure we have a normal brush, actually a normal hard brush. That looks good. And paint anywhere on the skin with white. Make this nice and big so we can move fast. That looks fine. Let's make this a softer brush. Skin. Nice, nice, nice. That looks good. Looking good, looking good. Nice. Fantastique, looking good. And what I've done is I've essentially smoothed out all the transitions in the skin where things were weird. Now, that looks awful. We're going to invert it, so we're going to paint black, and we're going to reveal whatever we want to. So whatever needs to be revealed. So we need to bring back our edges, obviously. We're going to bring back our highlights. We want to bring back the lips, any of the moles that we kept, the eyebrows, the ear, the jawline, anywhere where the skin is meeting a new area. So along the straps, the arm where it connects here, any highlights, got to bring those back. Any shadows like this, got to bring those back in. Just like so. And this is it. This is the technique. This is the cool part. Bring that in there. Looking good. Get rid of that highlight. Perfect. Belly. Perfect. Do. Perfect. Bring in this hairline here. Nice, looking good, looking good. Down here. Legs meet, perfect. 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 Okay. That looks good. But obviously that's way too much. She looks like a plastic doll. So we're going to bring it down to like 40%. And now the skin looks so much nicer. Right? There's some nice uniformity here. Boop. Just took care of all those little imperfections in the transitions in the skin. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to is it too much? It might be too much. It might still be too much. Oops. Let's bring it down to like 35. See what that does. That's pretty good. I'll take it. I will take it. I may decrease it here on the shadows so they pop a little more. That's fine. That looks good. That looks good. I'll take it. And then we're going to create a new layer here. We're going to go filter, other, high pass, and we're going to add the texture back in. We're going to go for something like 5. Look here, the skin. Bump it up. let's say 10, maybe here on the face. Let's go for something like 5. 5 is a bit aggressive, but that's okay. We're going to go to overlay, which is generally my go-to. That's looking pretty crunchy. And I am going to add a mask. Oops, to that. Turn the mask off and on. Just to see. Do I like it? I like it. I'm gonna bring it down a lot to like 30%. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to add a noise layer here as well. And I'm going to add that specifically to the skin. So I'm going to grab this mask where I painted with all of the skin. I'm going to bring that in there. And that's going to affect just the skin. And that's going to add the texture back in this area, in the areas where I kind of went a little overboard with the smoothing. And yeah, it's just going to make things look a little more natural. BX. Let's make sure that looks good. That looks great. Alright, so we got that looking good there. Bring that in there. Great. That looks good. I like that. We're going to decrease the amount, probably like 75. That looks good. I'm happy with that. Everything is falling into place perfectly. Voila, voila. Okay, what else can I do to this image? Well, I took out a lot of the contrast, so I'm going to want to add that back in, but not yet. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to group all this shindig together. And I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to dodge and burn. So I'm going to just do this little button here. It does all of my dodging and burning together. So we have a fixer, we have a hair, and we have a contour. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to do my fixer. So anywhere that I need to paint, I'm going to paint, right? So this is my, I think this is my burn layer here. No, it's my dodge layer. Oh, it's my burn layer here. So I'm just going to burn in right here a little bit. Whoop, whoop. Undo that. Bring my flow down to 0, or excuse me, to 1. Nice soft brush. I'm just going to gently touch in here with my burn in areas that are, I think, too bright. So remember, burning is to darken and dodge is for brightening. So I'm just gently going in here, touching that up. So if you see that before, after, that area was bothering me a little bit. So I'm just changing the luminosity a bit. Going to my dodge here, just a little touchy touch, a little retouch here. Burn in that little spot there. I'm being very gentle with this. And then here on the burn, you know, I might on my dodge, might dodge in this area just a little bit. And that looks good. Might dodge in that little line there. It's mostly like in this area that I'm concerned with, where I did a lot of retouching. It's mostly where I'm most concerned. I'm gonna burn in these lines on the face a little more, a little more contrast. I think that'll look nice. Yeah. A lot of these looks pretty good. Might do a little dodging here. Everywhere else should be pretty good. There's a little bit of dodging that can happen on the knee here. No big deal. Pretty cash. It's funny, a lot of people focus a lot of their attention when they're retouching on the face, which is important. But they'll neglect other parts of the body like the legs or the fingers, and they're just as important. So just dodge that a little bit. Got that looking a little less distracting. Might need a little bit more right there. Perfect. A little burn right there. Nice. There's a little dark patch here. Might lighten that up just a bit. Make the brush just a little bit bigger. Okay. Great. Nothing crazy. Couple little spots on the arm here I think could use a little TLC. Right here could use a little burn, I think. A little burn here. I think that looks better. Yep, I like it. I don't know how I feel about this line here on the face. I'm going to try to dodge it out, and then we'll see how I feel once it's gone. I think I prefer it not there. Now that I look at it, I think it was distracting. Huh, that's funny. What I'm going to do is I'm going to burn around it, and that will make the transition smoother. It's funny how that works. So if I just look at the dodge and burn, huge difference in quality right there. Dodging and burning is such a powerful tool, and it's honestly amazing. Dodge a little bit more above the eyebrow there. That looks good. Okay, so that's all my fixer layer. I've done all my fixing, right? Sort of big things, right? I think I might need a little more burn in this area. Just right to smooth things out just a little bit. Maybe I need to get a little closer. Dodge this area here. Okay, that is good. Digging that. That is nice. A little bit more. I keep kind of going back and forth. Something that you can do too is you can add a black and white layer to help you see things a little more easily. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go black and white and fill this with 50% gray. 50% gray. Press OK. I'm going to change it from normal blend mode to color. Oh, now we have a black and white layer. That will just help me to see things a little more easily when I dodge and burn. I can also add curves there as well if I need to. Okay, so I'm going to dodge this area a little bit. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. I think I want to burn just a smidge around there. All right. That looks so much better. All right, turn that off. Zoom out. It's always important to zoom out. So much better. Okay. How do I feel about the stuff going on around the eye? It's a good question. I don't know is the short answer. I think I need to keep it because it'll look strange if there's hard light dripping in and it's not anywhere, if it's not on this eyebrow, but it might. I can get rid of that. I think these little moles, I don't need these little moles. I don't know. I think I need to keep it though, for the most part. I think I can dodge and burn certain parts over here, but I think I need to keep this sort of strange, sort of hard light spilling in there. I'm gonna dodge this right here. I don't know if I can dodge it enough. I might need to go into my contour and dodge some more. There we go. That looks good. Okay. Wow. Dodging and burning. Magic. Okay. That's looking great. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some contouring. I like to start with the burn and then expand out. So I'm going to use a big brush. Boop. And I'm just going to follow the hairline, and that's going to tighten up the face a little bit and the jawline. Right? I'm going to go on the outsides of the arms. Right? And outsides of the legs. I'm just drawing a line here for my contouring. And that's essentially it for my contouring. And for my burning contouring. And then I'm going to go through with my dodge, and I'm just going to go in the center parts of the body. Accentuate these highlights. Nice. I like it. Get this top of the forehead here where the light's coming in. That looks good. All right, that is all great. So before and after, we've added some contour. We've added some dimensionality to the body. It's great. It's magic. Love dodging and burning. Okay. We also have it for the hair. I usually do the hair, but I don't know if I need to because it's so contrasty right now with the light. So I'm not even going to worry about doing contouring for the hair. So I'm going to leave that off. That's my helper layer. Get rid of that. Don't need that anymore. So that's all of my dodging and burning. And now I'm going to add, now I get to do the final steps, which is my color grade and my color grade. Yeah, just color grade. I was going to say color correction, but there is no color correcting that needs to happen. It's just color grading. So I'm going to color grade with the curves. And I'm first going to start with a strong contrast curve. But that's adding a lot of saturation to the image. So I'm going to go from normal mode to luminosity. And I'm going to drop this way down to like 50. See what that does? I like it. The skin's looking very golden, which I love. Look at that. Now we're looking more like the original image that we started with, which is great. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some more curves. I'm going to create 1, 2, 3. I'm going to call this red, blue, G for green. So we're going to go to red. We're going to go to RGB, and we're going to go to red. And we're going to pull down our reds just a little bit. I'm going to experiment. Basically, I'm just using this as an opportunity to experiment and see what I like and what I want to do. I'm going to go to our blue channel. Turn this to blue. Generally, it's pretty common to put blues in the shadow, and then take the blues out, add a little more yellow to the highlights. Pretty popular look, very cinematic. Right? Nice. And you can futz with this as much as you want. You know, do what makes you happy. So that's that. And the green I do the least amount on, but I generally like to put a little green in the highlights, and that's about it. And then I'll bump it down just a little bit everywhere else. Let's see what this looks like. So I took out a lot of the yellow, but I think I put too much blue in. And this is really where the creativity comes in, right? So if you're like, I don't like that, I've gone too far, that's okay. Like, you can always drop it back. You know, I think I need more blues. I think I have too much green in the highlights on this one. If I reset that, yeah. So there's some green over here. There's like a green cast that I am not really a fan of. Let's go to our reds. Oops. Yeah, let's put a little more red in there. I think that'll make us look a little snazzier. Don't necessarily want it too much in the highlights or too much in the shadows, because then it'll just look too saturated. Nice. Okay. That just looks a little more edgier, I think. A little more, yeah, it looks cool. It looks cool. I like it. I like the color grade. Okay. Now I am going to, actually, I'm going to take this hair, I'm going to bring it up into my CC one. Instead of hair, we're just going to call this DB extra. And I am going to, they say hair, whatever. We know it's dodge and burn. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to do some little touch-ups here for certain areas that I want to brighten for detail or for interest. So for example, the eyes. I'm going to bring in the eyes some more. Just brighten that up just a bit in this area, right? So I want the focus to be here, right? And that is good, right? I also probably want to darken everywhere else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, create a new layer, and I'm going to fill it, excuse me, I'm going to go M for my marquee tool. I'm going to make an oval here. I'm just going to add in a vignette, if you will. I'm going to go Command-Shift-F. I'm going to fill this with black. Black, por favor. Okay. I'm going to invert that. Excuse me. There we go. I want to select everything other than that. There we go. Command-Shift-I, and then fill with black. And there's my vignette. Perfect. That looks great. Just kidding. So we're going to convert this to a smart object. Great. And then we're going to go filter. And then we're going to go to blur. And we're going to go to Gaussian blur. Add a lot of blur. Like a lot. That looks good. Awesome. And then we're going to just drop this opacity way down. And that's just going to tighten up the image. So here it's kind of like everything's there. We're just going to tighten it down just a little bit. Like so. And then I'm going to create a curves. I'm going to select a marquee tool here. Really just kind of on the most, probably even less than that. Probably like here. Maybe more on the body too. Okay. Sorry. Something like there. And I'm going to say, okay, great. That's awesome. And I'm going to brighten this up. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I apologize. I'm sorry. We're going to select this area first. Area of interest. And then I'm going to go to my curves. And it's just going to automatically create a mask. Now, if I go in here, blah, blah, blah. There it is. And yeah, it's just brightening up that area of interest. And then we can convert to a smart object. Nice. Actually, do I want to do that? No. I do not want to do that. I just want to drop this down. What do I want to do? I want to affect this. Oh, I know what I want to do. I want to take this out here. And actually here, thank you. And I'm going to group it. And then I'm going to add this to a layer here. I'm going to delete this mask here. Put this curve in here. So now this mask is affecting this layer. And I want this layer to be a lot less. There we go. And I also want to feather this mask. So I'm going to do it here, maybe about 45. I'm going to feather this. Excuse me. Feather this mask. Is that doing what I want it to do? I don't know if it's doing what I want it to do. Oh, come on now. Feather. Okay. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to feather this. That's why I put it here. Silly rabbit. I wanted to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. But I didn't want it that high. I was like, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Been at the computer for too long. So I just want this to be a little less. I don't want it to be that strong. Just like 44. Yeah, that's good. So just a little boop, boop. Just a little circle of light. And there you have it. Okay, what else do I want to do to this image? I think that I like it. I think I like it. I sort of like the moodiness of it. And I think it's good. I'm happy. Is there anything else I want to do with it? Do I want to add? I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to turn this off. Do we want to turn that on? Yeah, I know what I want to do. We're going to go to the top, Command Option Shift E, and we're going to create another filter, other, high pass. We're going to crank this up, something really high like 145. Double click. We're going to cancel this first. We're going to change the blend mode to something strong and contrasty. Something like overlay. Overlay's good. Linear light might be too aggressive. Hard light might be too aggressive. It's either going to be hard light or overlay. I think overlay is good. And then we're going to go here. We're going to double click and we're going to use our blend if layer to add in some more interest in our highlights. And I don't want it on certain areas of her skin. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to split it using the Alt key, and I'm going to fade this out. But I basically just want to bring it in certain parts, particularly like on the arms and legs. I don't even think we need it on the face because there's so much. So I'm going to hit OK. Fill this with black. Hit the B tool. I'm just going to paint with white over in certain parts and brings up to 10 on the legs and on the arms. That's it. That is it. That just adds a little more visual dynamism to our image. And that looks good. I am happy with that. I'm going to go back to our dodge and burn fixer and go to our dodge layer. I think there's still some schmutzes that I can correct here. Just fix that a little bit. Boop, boop. And fix that a little bit. And dodge in just a little bit here on this top of the thigh here. Okay. Do I like this color grade? I think it might be too contrasty. I might reduce the contrast on this is the curve. Yeah, there's my contrast curve. I think I brought it down to 50. I think it can be like 30. I think that looks better. How's our color grade doing? Do we like it? Am I happy with it? It's a little bit more cinematic. I can futz with it. I like it. It's fine. It's good. I'll take it. All right, so there you have it, everyone. There's a complete start to finish dodge and burn, color grade, all that jazz. I'm gonna burn a little bit more. I keep seeing little things that I want to fix. Because I'm like, I just want it to be perfect. At some point, you have to just say, it's done. And we're almost there. I swear we're almost there. No, but right there needs to be a little bit more dodged. Okay, cool. There you have it. There's a complete boudoir retouch, start to finish, from Capture One to Photoshop, my process. There might be some give and take as far as some things that I might change. There are still things I could edit about this thing to get it really dialed in. But that's it. This is a complete shoot, and I am very happy with the result. I hope you enjoyed this. If you learned something, be sure to like and subscribe. I will try to do more of these videos. If you find them helpful, let me know. And we'll see you at the next one.